and then I'll introduce the episode.
Cool.
And then we'll fucking get down the fucking rabbit hole.
Sweet.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Right, you ready?
Yep.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Podcast. It's such a ridiculous way to start a podcast about music direction.
But I'm energized. I'm ready to go.
You're energized and ready to go. Hello and welcome to the Shofar Podcast, a podcast by performance nerds. My name is Tom, founder of a work in progress live electronic music direction company, and fairly ironically, my voice is fucked, but we're doing a podcast about vocals today.
Yes.
This is the vocal episode. We finally made it, Chrisy. We've done a few of them now, and I think it's really taken its toll on my vocal cords.
Yes.
And now I can't say things without it all kind of a bit weird. It's not good.
It's okay. We're going to find solutions to fix that.
We're going to find solutions. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Maybe there is like some UAD plugin that I can use to
Yeah.
make myself sound like a competent podcaster.
The fix button.
The fix button.
Yeah.
Can you RX that in post?
Yeah. Oh, great. We've got a podcast now.
Yeah, we got the. Oh shit! I forgot my line. We were always supposed to have a line. We didn't have one for the synth one either.
No. Oh.
Letdowns. There's us trying to start a meme and failing miserably at starting a meme.
Oh well.
Welcome to the internet.
Sweet. Okay.
So, podcast about vocals today. Let's talk about vocals. You want to talk about vocals? We've got loads of stuff to talk to about vocals.
Yes, we
We
do.
have lots of ways of doing vocals. Lots of ways to approach doing vocals.
Yeah.
It's interesting and it's fun.
Exactly.
We've kind of separated it, as always, into three levels.
That's right. Yeah.
3 levels. So we kind of, and this isn't like a, like industry lingo or anything. This is just kind of how we've like looked at a lot of the gigs that we've done in the past and clients that we currently hold and been like, okay, cool. Like, how do we approach vocals on those shows? And it's kind of in these 3 main ways.
Yeah.
There isn't any like rules. There is a lot of crossover, but like these are kind of, in terms of having to talk about it.
Yeah.
This is like a good starting point. So there is the producer.
Yep.
Lead vocal.
Yep.
And performer.
Yes.
And we'll go into exactly what those mean as the podcast continues.
Exactly. It's how we've broken it down anyway.
That's how we've broken it down. That makes most sense in what we do.
Yeah.
So the thing about vocals that's taken us quite a long time with this podcast to put it together is they're quite a hard thing to get right on a show. Because it's really obvious when they're wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. You can. It's the one thing that everyone can communicate with. Like, even if you've definitely heard your dad like watch X Factor and gone like, oh, they sound a little bit flat. Yeah. You're like,
Dad, you don't know anything about me. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And it just seems to be the thing that like most people can, even if you're not into music, you can grasp onto that. Like, if you just tonally, like you can tell if someone's sad by the way they talk, or you can tell someone's happy. So like vocals are just the main bit that anyone can latch onto. So like anyone has got ears to know that that's like kind of in or out, or something is a little bit wrong.
There's so much context in like that tonality.
Yeah.
So much context, like you're saying, like that. So many little tiny things that you pick up on that you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that comes across in your performance, whether you're having a good time or not having a good time. And I guess a lot of what we're going to talk about is like trying to make sure that you will have a good time, or like making sure that you can feel confident and approach things in a way where you can be giving the best performance and you can sounding your best most consistently.
Yes.
Because that's what's most important. That's the goal, man.
Yeah.
Just having good gigs.
Yeah.
Just have a good gig if you could.
Yeah.
If that's okay, have a good gig. So I probably need to do like a quick lingo check. I've got a bunch of notes here, right? And I have realised, just from remembering like some talks and stuff that we've done before, we do a lot of like jargon without realising, because there's a lot of things that you just like say in rehearsal rooms that you just assume people know when you're like working in music a lot. So just going to like clarify a few things that people will hear a lot in this specific podcast, and then we can move on from there. So LV, lead vocal.
Yep.
So that's like your main vocal.
Yes.
BV, backing vocal. Very common. You'll hear BV thrown around loads.
Yeah.
Vox, means vocal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that comes from old mixing consoles where you had to like tape label stuff
and you
like
didn't
have enough characters.
Space. Yeah.
In fact, there's a lot of like weird music tech jargon that comes from that.
Yes.
And like naming conventions that people use, like shouting on naming stuff when it's all caps.
Yep.
That comes from like, you know, shit LED displays and like letters not really being obvious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. That's completely beside the point. That's got nothing to do with vocals. And then as live as well. So as lives are recordings of a performance from a performer that aren't studio produced and kind of deliberately not studio produced, so that when you use them from either backing tracks or whatever, the front of house engineer gets something that's like closer to a person performing the track.
Yeah.
As opposed to like just studio, like just the record.
Yeah. You don't want to be putting reverbs on reverbs. Well, maybe you do, but like if that's not the intent, then...
Yeah, exactly. It means that you can create more of a real sounding vocal. And to be honest with you, if you've got enough time with your production, you're probably going to be re-recording a lot of BB and things like that, especially if vocals are the most important part in your show.
Yes.
So that front of house engineer really can dig into making that whole mix sit correctly with, you know, whatever they're given on the day. Because this is the thing with like live mics and stuff, it will change every day.
Yeah.
Like, there is inconsistency, relentless inconsistency with live microphones. You know, the room and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's all well and good in our little studio, but that will change all the time. I think I pretty much say it on every podcast that that's a big challenge with live music that you're always up against is every venue you play in is different from the last venue. And sounds different, reacts different. And like a big part of what we're talking about with all these kinds of things is finding ways to make your source on stage as consistent as possible so that you always have a good sounding show.
Yes.
And you all can always hear a good show so that you can perform well with your show.
Yeah.
And, you know, how we get to the things with, you know, making those decisions. So I think the first thing...
Dive into our producer role.
Should we listen to the track first?
Yes. As a producer.
So as always, we've got our track for podcasts. In case you're new here, this is the track that we've been using across the whole season.
Yep.
That has kind of a lot of, you know, all your standard kind of production techniques you're going to find in modern music. It's something that we made internally for like interviews and for education and stuff. We just needed some stems. And because it's ours, we don't need to ask an artist, which is great.
Yeah.
So you can hear there's like quite a clear lead vocal in that.
Yep.
Quite a clear top line.
Yeah, clear top line.
Some synths and bass.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. A wonky bit of percussion that's probably pointless.
Yeah, it's all there. Open it up. So we come to the chorus.
Yeah, and the vocals like stack up with the chorus. Like, this is how people just like arrange modern music. Across the board. Pretty much every genre, you're going to get an arrangement kind of similar to this.
And then some
little fun bits.
Yeah.
Cool.
Vocal stretchy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a track.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
That's our source material. This is what we're going to be working from.
This is it.
And kind of everything that we're going to be working on today has all come from this particular piece of music and these stems.
100%.
So yeah, let's start with producer. As you said, let's start with producer.
So like, I guess like really if we're working with someone that is like a producer, most likely someone's come in and top line this. They might turn up at a gig and therefore you like need to quickly mute that lead vocal. And as long as you organize yourself, you can quickly do that. We have our own lead vocal bus. So like if you were to play it and just hit a button and then it's gone. Great for like if you've got someone just turning up on the day and you just quickly need to make that amendment. And
that's really common with producer style gigs, right? Like we have quite a few, like a lot of our artists are probably in the producer category or maybe in the performer category that we'll talk about later. But you know, we've had people turn up in the last 5 minutes of sound check completely fucking unannounced. And then all of a sudden everybody said, oh yeah, of course they were coming today. And you're like, all right, okay, well, let's get those vocals off track. Right, let's get them on some ears and start running them through this and see if we can make sure that you're okay there. Ideally, you'll have time, but it's a quite common situation in the music industry to not have time.
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. And I think we said it before, as long as your foundations are good, you've labelled where you are in the track.
Yeah.
You've got a stem that says lead vocal.
That is the lead vocal.
That is the lead vocal, not like lead vocal version 2 and now that's a BB.
Yeah, totally.
You can, you should be able to make those changes pretty quick and not get confused.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But
that's what you're after.
Anyway, we've done that. So it's here. We've muted it. We've unmuted it.
We've got it in our Ableton session. It's literally just a mute button away from getting rid of it. And those producers, they're probably not going to be the person singing that. So we're going to have to approach how they do something performative with those vocals slightly differently. Yeah,
exactly. So like they're going to be fiddling with knobs. They're probably going to be playing some keys. They're going to be working a drum machine. So we kind of need to treat the vocals the same as we would treat those other instruments.
Yeah.
Like delays, washes, making risers, something that is similar to their producing style.
Yeah, totally. Like those effects are going to be very much like dictated by like how they're producing the record, but also it's like finding a way to show that process on a stage.
Yeah.
You know, with kind of traditional musicians, it's very simple in terms of, you know, they all sat in a room together and played instruments together, and this is that process.
Yes.
There you are.
Yeah.
Whereas with producers, it's like trying to find the interesting parts of the production process and being like, no, like, this is what it is. Like, they're kind of adding production to this on stage, which, you know, like delay sends, throws, that kind of thing is like a really quick win with that.
Yeah.
And then slowly zooming in on those and refining them and turning them into more interesting effects that are like becoming more unique. You know, you don't have to just do it with Ableton stuff either. You can be sending audio out into effects pedals or whatever. Like there's lots of ways to get those effects to work.
Exactly. You might have like a pedal that you used in the studio to make that reverb tail or to create like this delay with it, like they, you know, however it was produced, like, and if you feel confident enough to tour it, why not stick it on your pedal board of gear and run your vocals through it if that's how it was made. 100%.
Okay, so let's have a listen to, because you set some of these up, right?
Yeah, so I mean I made like a vocal effects rack here. Cool. We've got a beat repeat, we've got a reverb, we've got a delay, and we've got like a tremolo. I thought we could these are quite intense effects for this track, but I just thought the more obvious, the more fun it would probably be to hear, and you can go as subtle or as hard as you want, depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, totally. I mean, also when you have when you're doing that kind of stuff, sometimes it's better for it to be a little bit exaggerated.
Yeah.
So that it's obvious to the audience that you're the one doing this, rather than you getting a bit too like mix about it, where you're like, okay, cool, like I need to just sit like just right behind like this snare drum or whatever.
Yeah.
It's probably better to just be like, no, I'm fucking throwing a delay in. I'm doing like a really obvious tremolo. I'm doing a really obvious beat repeat or whatever. Because that's going to create more of a vibe.
Yeah.
Like, right. Oh, that's really cool. Or they're doing that kind of stuff. So you've got it set up with like two Ableton effects racks, right?
Yes.
They're being controlled by a Launch Control XL.
Yes.
Which just has a bunch of faders and knobs.
It's
a little MIDI controller.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all plugged in to Ableton to control that stuff.
Yeah, and a way I organise myself, like obviously it depends how you wish to do it. I've have it here as this is like I want more of this effect.
Yeah.
So I've got my delay, I've got my verb, I've got my tremolo, I've got my beat repeat.
Just on those faders. So when you turn the fader up, that's lots of effect. When you turn the fader down, no effect.
No effect. Yeah, and then I have like extra, like, so I've got the feedback from my delay and my time above my delay.
So that's on the knobs above the delay. And the knobs on that particular thing is really cool because they lock in the middle like DJ pots.
Yeah.
So you can kind of be like, oh, well, if midway of this is my kind of go-to, okay, standard state of the effect.
Yeah.
It's quite tactile. Mid-gig, there's no fucking sound.
Yeah.
Well, no sound. There's no light, and you can't see anything. You're just like, okay, cool. Oh, that feels right.
Yeah, it feels.
That's
correct.
my basic bit, and then you can move it around to do interesting stuff.
Exactly, and I feel like this is like, I mean, it depends depends who you're working with, but I feel like this is, again, when we talk about organizing, this is quite intuitive. Like, the pots above this effect here. And so on, depending on each effect.
So, like, from the way that the launch controls sort of kind of laid out as a MIDI controller, you have channel strips, and each channel strip is like an effect.
Yeah.
With your fader, and then 3 pots, and then fader, then 3 pots, and that's just like one strip is one effect.
Exactly.
Nice and easy.
Yeah. You don't want to be doing like geography on your thing like that.
Like geography on your MIDI controller. Yeah. I get you.
Yeah, you want to have fun.
100%.
Not do a test.
We're not here to be fucking boring, bro.
Yeah. So I guess I'll play some back to you, and I think a good thing to know is, like, if you, as you're looking at this, if you're like looking on YouTube or whatever, if I go really hard with the effects, we're not killing ourselves, because on Ableton, when we map our macros, we can set the values to like not go plus like plus 10 dB. We can always set it to 0, so like your artist or yourself or whoever can go crazy with these, but also not kill front of house. Or just overload it and just start clipping stuff and ruining all of your gain staging. Because you start getting scared and you end up, you won't use them, because like it's so easy in the moment to like absolutely send it. And then it's just like, 100%. Oh my God, you get scared and you pull it all down and everyone's like, what was that about? So because
you want that to be smooth, you want it to like feel it, well, not feel, like it has to be deliberate.
Yeah, exactly. You know? So like for like just before I start, like if when I send this delay up, you can see on Ableton the send it's only sending, like, it goes to 0. It doesn't go above that. Because we've set our gain, we want it to only go to this level, so it can't go any further. It can't go any hotter than it needs to be, which is just good to bear in mind. But yeah, I guess should I play it back?
Play some stuff and let's have a listen to some of these effects. Just like roll through them so we can just like have a little A/B of like.
So that's
your delay.
This is our delay. We've got like our feedback.
Very tapey, wonky.
Yeah, very wonky. And then, all the way down it's cut. We've got a reverb here. And I've got a tremolo to make
the interesting difference in those two wet effects is that delay was like more of a send return.
Yes.
And this reverb is more of a dry wet.
Yeah.
So that's like probably like washing out to like a build up and then being able to bring it back immediately.
Yeah. So like, pull it down, we're back to dry. And then we pull it up. I thought like put like a tremolo on it. This is the amount of, and then we've got a rate.
Right. Yeah, great.
And now we're back
like
to
fun
dry.
little starters and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. All that sort of good shit. Like, gives the producer who doesn't want to sing or can't sing or for whatever reason wants to keep it on track. We don't have a feature here. They can just mess around with it.
Yeah.
Make some cool risers.
Yeah.
Like make it a bit more intense.
It's adding production to the track. You're producing the track live.
Yeah, exactly.
Creating new experiences, reworks, rethinking those parts that you had in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah, I to be fair, a lot of our shows we'll kind of start building that kind of thing in from the beginning by default. Just having like, okay, like here's some basic effects, and whether it's on vocals or on the music channel or on the drums or something like that, like always having something that's like a go-to.
Yeah,
it's quite a common thing for us to do because it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a bit DJ style, but it's a lot of fun to play, and like as you get as you get yourself excited with the things that you're playing on stage, like all of that energy translates.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it being DJ style, especially, you know, a producer makes a lot of their living also DJing.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like if you're doing it within Ableton or whatever pedal you're using, if you're creating effects racks unique to your producing, then it's unique. It's, you know,
still the same as choosing an instrument and being like, this is my instrument.
Yeah. You know, like
it's the same theory. It's the same amount of thought that goes into it, the same amount of work that goes into getting it right.
Yeah.
Making sure that you can write it all just in the right way. Like,
yeah, exactly. Tom Morello has his sound on guitar.
Yeah,
do you know
exactly.
What I mean?
Yeah,
people have their own vocal production, and you know, they shine it through with however they want to do it.
Well, so vocal producer is now like a whole job. That's like a whole new thing where people will be like, "Oh, I produce vocals on this record."
Yeah,
like, that was that's definitely recent.
Exactly.
Or at least they're getting named recently.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, whatever. Okay, so that's really cool, but also you can do more performative stuff as well. Like a common producer thing to do is chop things up onto Fred Again pads, which I call basically any MPC style pads I call Fred Again pads now.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's because you have a lot of meetings, especially in the electronic world, and it's a common thing to come up in meetings where people say, "Yeah, we want to make sure the show isn't too Fred Again," and you know exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about fucking Fred Again pads.
Yeah.
And you know, I've mentioned. This is another one that I've mentioned every fucking podcast, but if you're not familiar, when I'm talking about Fred Again pads, I'm talking about his interview with Zane Lowe on Apple Music, where he did all of his crazy shit on his MPC stuff.
Yeah.
Which is those little finger drum pads.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like, that's been a performance technique for electronic music for forever. Yeah. Since I started my first ever gig, we were doing this kind of stuff. In, you know, back when I was in a band years ago, we were doing that kind of stuff. Everybody's been doing it forever. It's how hip hop producers used to produce that kind of thing. So anyway.
Yeah.
It is a great way to just like throw in vocal chops and shit.
Exactly.
Which is what we're going to talk about now.
The assignment is Fred Again. So yeah, no, you're right. And there's a really obvious moment here at the end of that chorus. We've got all our effects off. Yeah, so we go in here.
There's that little vocal chop in there already, isn't there?
So we've got something. And that's just like such an obvious thing to chop up and then play live. So like,
yeah, I think actually as well at the end of the track, it happens like a whole bunch of times in that outro. There you go.
Sweet, cool.
So you'd be like playing that part.
Yeah.
Which would be like a nice, obvious way of doing it.
100%. And because we've grouped things properly and named them all, we can go like, someone goes like, "Hey, wouldn't it be great for you to play that part, Mr. Producer?"
On some Fred Again pads?
Yeah. Yes, it would. Fantastic. So we'll just mute them. They're gone now. So we get to the end of that chorus and whoops, I've muted the wrong thing. How embarrassing. We get to the end of it. They're not there anymore because you're going to play them now. And we're going to put that on the...
Just chop the samples up and we're going to put it on the 404 today.
Yeah, that's right.
But you could do it in a drum rack if you were keeping everything inside Ableton. Other samplers are available.
Yes, no.
Fred Again doesn't have his own sampler yet with pads on, but I'm sure that will happen at some point. You'll be able to use that instead.
Right, yeah, of course.
We've got like a Torres SP16. There's like the MPC Live also does that kind of thing. I'd say it's we're using the 404 today, but most commonly this would be inside Ableton on a drum rack.
Yeah.
On a lot of shows. Maybe that's
Well, no, I think we would normally... Not that it's right, obviously. Like, we would normally keep it in Ableton because we would probably want to also use our own unique effects rack on top of it.
Yeah, totally.
If we wished to, or have our own separate effects rack just for vocal chops and a different one for like the lead and the BVs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because there's more you know, unless you're producing on it, you will have the similar like effects that maybe you used on the record.
Yeah.
So you could still do it. It's just like, but if let's say this is a piece of gear you've never used before, it's like, oh, I don't know how to use this filter and drive and resonator or delay. They're not like intuitive to me. Then it's just like, well, maybe this is the wrong way of doing it. But if you did,
for sure,
then this is the great way of putting your vocal chops in, and you know the effects inside out.
You basically just need some sort of sampler that can replay different samples on different pads.
Yeah.
And then you can create a pad. Right, I mean, like, play it back for us.
Okay.
Give it a little go.
And that's
Easy.
It. Yeah. It'll be better once the track's playing.
Yeah, totally. should we try it with a bit of, give you a little bit in 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've literally just got like the first tiny little chop, second tiny little chop, third tiny little chop, and then you've got 2 different ways to end it, right? You got and. So you can do 2 different versions of it.
Yeah, because I think at the very end it alternates between the 2, but like, you know, and then like now that you've chopped them up, you don't have to play it the same every time, you know.
Yeah, we could like go to the top of the track and you could be doing little bits in here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, start remixing it, then put it through an effect or whatever.
Yeah.
You have a lot of flexibility once you've got those samples chopped up to then be rearranging it and, you know, creating new parts on the fly and reproducing it.
Exactly. Reproducing it. But yeah, no, those are 2 ways, and obviously you can expand on that however you go. But I think that's a good way of thinking about lead vocals on track, still playing with them and still messing around with them. Yeah.
Producing.
Amazing.
Producer. Done.
Sweet.
Should we talk about lead vocals?
Lead vocals, yeah. So the exact opposite
of
having them on track. We're going to now have lead taken away. So like now we probably take this lead vocal and we're going to take it out of our like sort of Vox group. Yeah. Now it's totally on its own because we probably want all these lead vocals off track.
Yeah.
And you probably want to keep the BVs on there so they're supporting your lead vocalist. Yeah. So like,
because if we just like go through those BVs quickly, like, because this is really common as well in vocal production to have like a kind of double sound. It's like very affected. And then you can hear when we get to like the chorus, we've got like more of a stacky type thing. Lots more harmony, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then in like the second verse, we've got like a different type of backing.
Yep.
Different type of double. So, you know, you're probably going to want all of this on track to support your vocalist, which the track does sound a bit weird when you remove that lead vocal.
Yeah.
But that's because you're going to have someone singing that now.
Exactly.
Your lead vocalist.
Yeah.
So, I guess we're going to go in a bit more on keeping that player, well, you know, as much as lead vocal is normally at the top of the tree in terms of importance, they are still a player, and they are still human, and they are still vulnerable to, you know, forgetting things, getting things wrong. You know, if you fly into a show jet lagged to fuck, have to get straight on stage.
Yeah.
You might cock it up.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And like you said at the beginning, like vocals are way more vulnerable, way more obvious to know if they're wrong or right. And like, you know, like you could get a cold and then, or like get laryngitis and then you can't sing anymore or like, and it's like, you can't just tune your vocal with a pedal and go like, oh, as long as I hit the right notes, it's kind of fine and play it in time. if you lose your voice, you lose your voice.
100%.
And you can't really dep it out
if you're the one on sing the wrong lyric, you've sung the wrong lyric.
Yeah.
And we don't get to go back and do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's like a few little tricks from like an IEM perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
Like things like cues, and on your click track, it's like so common to put cues in.
Yeah.
To keep people in there.
No, yeah,
keep
definitely.
them locked.
Exactly. Yeah, which is like, you know, like you say, you know, we're preparing for the shows where you've missed your flight, or the flight's been delayed or whatever. Yeah. You've had to fly overnight to America, no sleep, wake up, go straight to the venue and perform a show.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just like, there's too much to think about, or you're just like not technically awake.
Yeah.
You're just sort of floating around. So like these like cues are just meant to help you for those sort of shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you just need a little bit of like, hey, come on, here we go.
Yeah.
Here comes the verse.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Jet lag. I'm in a different time zone. Here we go. These are the lyrics and stuff like that. So
yeah, totally. So I think you've set some up, right? So let's have a little look at some, because there's nothing wrong with putting like cues and stuff on your click tracks.
Yeah, you know? Exactly. You know, it just you need, the most important thing is to have confidence.
Yeah.
And if you
100%.
if you're like always like,
yeah.
We've entered a drone and I don't know where the route is anymore, or I don't even sing the route, I play the fifth in this like, so it's like you know, if it gives people confidence, then I think it's totally worth it.
I mean, a good example would be another good example would be if you're literally trying to do like an a cappella bit and then the track follows you.
Yeah.
You know, you on your own in a room will not tune correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
To what's coming in after, like, and you need to be able to like do a really good part so that when everything else comes in with you, you're fucking there. We're all there together.
Exactly. 100%. So at the moment we've got like a click in here.
Yeah.
So we know where beat 1 is.
Great.
And then so let's add in some cues. So we see here that the vocal line starts on beat 2. So what I would do is I'd put like 1.
Is that beat 3?
Sorry, beat 3. Thank you.
Wait, aren't you the drummer?
Yeah. Oops. How embarrassing. I would probably do it like this. I'd put like a 2-bar cue in. So like sounding like this. So let's double check that's all going to be fine. So 1, 2, 1, 2. That
is very loud.
That is super loud. If I do it like that. So let me play that back to you again. So I put a cue in, and it would sound like this. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Nice.
So the vocalist definitely knows where they're meant to be coming in.
Yep.
And then we might put a pitch cue in.
Yep.
So I'd probably get rid of that now. So they're not overlapping. You can hear it.
Yeah.
So I think here we've got F sharp. So on this like lead vocal, I think it's starting on E and slides up to F sharp. So my decision would be go to the destination of the note, which is F sharp. So
we were going through this earlier, weren't we? We couldn't quite figure out like where, because I think you were right. Like technically, I think the part starts on E, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then
and slides to F sharp. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've made the choice. It's neither's right or wrong. It depends on the singer really. So
how they're hearing it, how they're feeling it, like what makes sense in their head.
Yeah. So I've put F sharp here, and it would sound like this if you know.
2. That's if I was singing, that's what I'd want.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, perfect. Then it's correct.
Because then also you can bend into it from wherever you want to start.
Yes.
And you just make that decision depending on how you're feeling, how many champagnes you've had before the show, like whatever you've decided that that's going to be. Exactly.
So like I think that's a good way of, you know, that's just one way of doing it. You know, I like to still have the 1, 2, because it's not obvious that beat 1 is where you're going to land. So you got 1, 2, da-na-na-na-na-na. I think that's quite obvious then. You're not like, there's no false starts or anything like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
another thing to do is that, like, if someone's really struggling with, like, oh, yeah, but there's 2 notes there, and I can't remember the lyric. Like, what's the lyric that comes in there? So another thing we could do is, like, let's sack off this pitch cue now. We don't need it anymore. And we're going to use some of the lead vocal.
Yeah, doing this is so common because it's such a quick and easy, like, okay, cool, like, here's just what you need.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Some vocalists will even keep pretty much, all of the lead vocal on the click track.
Yeah.
Some features that we've had on some shows, they'll just want it there for the whole tune to sing along to.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And so because I've definitely worked with someone where they've had to rap a part, and they always forget the rhythm. They always forgot the rhythm, like, it always changes here and here. So, like, they would always be ending on the wrong place or finishing in the wrong place or starting in the wrong place. So we ended up just putting the whole rap in their ears so they could just follow along.
That's hilarious as well, because surely, like, one of the arguable, like, unique parts of, like, one of your unique things as a rapper is your flow. That's part of... It's kind of like how you with some rappers, that's literally how you can tell them apart from other rappers. It's the way they move between words, and
it's so funny. It's like, I've forgotten how to flow. Like,
I forgot my fucking flow.
Put my flow cheat chart in my ear. Like,
can someone score my flow for me, please?
Yeah. No, exactly. So, like. So, we need like a lyric cue, and it's also a pitch cue as well. So you're kind of combining the two.
Yeah.
And just so you can hear the contrast, I'm going to mute the lead vocal. So the lead vocal you'll hear now is the cue. And we're going to use the as live from our friend Anna.
Anna Hayes came in earlier and recorded just a quick take of this that will hit tuning nicely when we talk about that in a bit. So this is Anna Hayes recreating that lead vocal there.
Exactly. So I'll play it to you in context. So
1, 2. Yeah, and like Anna chose a very different place to slide up to that.
Yeah.
She's reinterpreted that. But then also, that would be quite common with lead vocalists.
Yes.
Is that they're not necessarily going to sing the exact same thing every night. They might change some rhythms a little bit. They might, change, not necessarily melodic stuff, but certainly like small nuances.
Exactly. And actually, when we recorded this, they didn't use any of these like cues or anything like that. So
it's stretchy.
It probably would have been more like it if we used these cues.
Yeah.
So,
she absolutely just came in beast mode. We handed her a lyric sheet, she did a take and then left.
So this is all just one take. So like, imagine what the take would have sounded like if we used these cues. Anyway, still great. And that's like a good way, I think, of hearing an example of like, this is what you'd hear in your ears. Yeah. And that as live is what would be out of front of house. But this like, why'd you think beginning bit is, what you would hear in your ears.
No reminds you of the beginning of that track. And, these kinds of things that we put on click tracks and these kinds of cues and stuff, it can also help if you're having a bad day on ears for whatever reason.
Yes.
If you've got this planned out across the show, it's you just ask the monitor engineer, just like, look, just give me loads of click, and I'll be able to like get through this.
And
get it right, because there's just so many variables that can have changed. And the more like live mics that you have on stage and things like that, like I said earlier, that can, as much as your monitor engineer may be doing their best, the odds might be stacked against them. They might be on local gear. It might not be going so well. And having that one thing that's just always going to keep you in is how you can still have a good show.
Because like you and I get why people want to do this, but like a lot of vocalists, they're like, nah, I don't want any click because I've got the drums I've got the drums with me. But like sometimes there'll be moments where you've got 16 bars and there's no drums and you're just like sort of floating around in a drone.
And if there's tracks in that 16 bars, the tracks won't fucking keep with you. They're a robot that just keep going. They just keep to whatever their BPM that they've chosen is.
You have to follow me and I'm not budging.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you'll get into a venue where like Okay, yeah. Well, I follow the drums, so it's fine. And then you'll get into a venue where it all slaps back, so you've got like a weird delay coming back, and you like, am I following the drums in my ears, or am I following the slap back of the drums in the venue?
100%.
Which is like super common. So if you have a click track that's not blasting out of the PA, only in your ears, then you've got like, oh, that is my time.
Yeah.
Like, rather than having the drums coming out of the PA, hitting that back wall, coming back at you, and you're like, I don't know what's up.
Some of it
down.
bleeding into your vocal mic and then going through your vocal effects, and there's like that's then going through a delay and a reverb as well in your ears, and like whatever compression is going on, and like, man, it's, you know, I don't envy monitor engineers. They have one of the hardest fucking jobs.
Yes, no.
Dealing with all of that is like impossible.
Exactly. But yeah, I guess so that's like cues. That's like a good way of like setting up and like not forgetting your lyrics, knowing when to come in, knowing your pitch, and then I guess now like this as live, how we would treat it, or like we're calling this as live as like a like a vocalist singing dry.
Yeah, we're calling it as live in the session just as a kind of continuity thing, and just that's lingo that we use a lot. Today we're going to use it as if we had a vocalist in the room.
Yes,
because one day we'll do it with a vocalist in the room, and it'll be much more interesting and much more fun. But today we don't. So there's like a big thing that we have to talk about with vocals, and that's autotune.
Yes,
because autotune is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on records. It's on stages. It's in pubs. My dog has it.
Yeah. T-Pain Tina.
T-Pain Tina, that's what she does, man. The dog's going to end up the fucking star of this podcast for sure. It's a pity she's not here.
You've got to put her...
No, that's
that
true,
would be so good.
Some of the weird little noises that she makes. The thing with autotune, and I'm not just talking about like the Antares autotune plugin. Yeah. I'm talking autotune as in like vocal tuning, automatic vocal tuning. And there's lots of different ways to do it. Yeah. No, like the UAD isn't
it's
not the only way.
Yeah, it's not the only one.
We do kind of always come back to it if we try something else.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And it is definitely the thing that you see on most shows.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's the most common, but it's not the only thing.
Not the only way to do it. There's also like hardware units. You know, there's like TC Helicon do really good vocal hardware.
Yeah.
There's like the Voice Live Extreme, and there's that little one that goes on a mic stand that every time I talk about it, I forget what it's called.
No, that's fair.
They're a nightmare to program, but they're really great.
Yeah,
they're really cool. There's like Waves Tune.
Yes,
which is the Waves version of autotune. So if you've got like a Waves server, that's probably a good idea. Or probably not a good idea necessarily, but something a way that you could get your tuning. If your front of house engineer has enough time to change the patch or can route their desk so that when they go through their scenes, they can change that patch. Then that is one way of doing it. I love the TC Helicon stuff, and they do from like the Voice Live Extreme is probably the big like scary one that's like very pro. And they also do these tiny little shit ones. Yeah, because we had one on iJordan and I absolutely loved it. iJordan turned up to a rehearsal that I was in with them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they we've been." Because they have this track where they do a lot of like weird format stuff, and I think they did it with Little Boy, like everybody does in the studio stuff. And we were trying to do it live, and they found this little auto-tune pedal, which literally it's like the worst auto-tune pedal in the world. No, honestly, it's like this tiny little blue thing. It's like the size of your hand, and it has two knobs on it, one for your root note and one for your scale.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think the scale was literally just like a switch, like major, minor. Oh no, major, minor, chromatic. Okay. And then it has the format. So like as a real world autotune, it's a bit nightmarish. Do you know what I mean? Like you're going to be kind of going from song to song. If you go from like, your one track's in B major and then you need to go to like F minor, you've got to click all the way through this stupid knob. So anyway, terrible for normal autotune. Can't send MIDI to it, but the format on it was amazing.
Right, okay, yeah.
And that's one of the things like, this is a bit, I'm going off piste a little bit, but when you're going with like, interesting vocal effects, sometimes those kind of crap pedals can become just the right little spice that you needed. I remember during the track, they literally like grab the 4-man knob and just rag it up and down like this. It's really cool. It's like a really cool tune, and it's a really good bit of performance. What they're like on the mic and they go rah, 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 and it like all goes down and up. But TC Helicon is cool. Like I think if you want to experiment with vocal effects and you want something that's just going to be like a very immediate win, like the TC Helicon stuff is good.
Yes. Yeah,
it's the thing we've had the best experience with so far.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Also, Ableton have also just done an auto tune.
Yes, yeah.
Called Auto Shift.
We were playing with it even earlier today. It's definitely very cool, like putting it on as we were talking about earlier, putting it on its like live mode. It's still a little bit funky.
I don't know when we're going to put it on a real show yet, but it's definitely from a production perspective, it seems to do it quite well.
Yeah. When you take it off that live mode and like you have the latency, it's like, cool, it does it quite well.
Yeah.
For a live scenario, not so much. There's too many weird artifacts in it to...
For now. Yeah. I hopefully they'll figure it out. But
I have no doubt.
It's it's cool. Anyway,
yeah.
Those are your options.
Yeah.
I guess like the software versus hardware is your first step in making that decision.
Yeah.
Do you have the computers available?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to automate it? Like the thing with the hardware units is, well, not that pedal that I described earlier, because that was like, that was more of a creative thing. But certainly with the more Stompbox friendly versions, you can just like tap with your foot through the different tunings that you need. So you could have like a patch per song, and each song is the right key for the song, the right settings for the song, and you just go like bop next one, bop next one, bop the next one through as you go through your set list. If you're running like backing tracks, something with good MIDI implementation might be better, because then you can automate it with your backing tracks. Using MIDI.
Exactly.
Which I'd say with the UAD stuff is more common.
Yes. Yeah.
You'd be running because you need console to change parameters on your UAD and Tare's autotune.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on a lot of those factors, on your budget, your resources, all these kinds of things, and how you make those decisions.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, to be fair, like, it's hard to say what's better and what isn't, because the UAD stuff is very, very good. But like, yes, you need a computer, and then you could do it all hardware. But like, you still have so many problems with it anyway, because you're in a venue and the PA's behind you, and it's like all coming down the mic, and it's kind of unusable. Like you've got too much ambient noise for it to like know what to tune to. So you just get this sort of robot or like feedback mess. So like, pros and cons are quite difficult, really. But I think the major thing to have with it is that like you have a split to bypass any tuning.
Oh, definitely. You need your get out of jail free card.
Because like, to have like vocals that are just causing absolute chaos to just having a nice dry vocal that the front of house person could just put a little bit of like reverb on and stuff like that to soothe it over. Someone will have to fix that UAD unit. Someone will have to fix that, TC Helicon on stage. And that's like quite a stressful situation if it's on stage, and even if it's not on stage. Yeah. So just having that, like, do you know what? Just like send the dry.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, the worst way that it will likely break at some point is that it will get stuck on.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the automation of whatever type it is has just died.
Yeah.
And so you go to talk to the audience between tracks, and you're exactly like you're T-paining away when you're just trying to say like, thank you so much for coming, guys, I really appreciate you.
So should we program some autotune?
Let's. To program autotune, you need to kind of understand your basic autotune parameters, don't you?
Yes, because they're all similar from box to software to whatever. They all have like basically the same components, but like slightly different names.
Yeah. So your main things that you're looking for are your root note.
Yep.
Your scale.
Yep.
they'll all have that because obviously you need to be able to set the key. It's
Yes.
pretty useless if you can't set the key.
Yeah.
And leaving it on C chromatic is not an excuse. Don't do that.
Silly.
It won't work. It won't do the thing that you want, except it will do the thing that you want until that gig where it doesn't.
Yeah.
As is tradition with those kinds of things.
Yeah.
People are sitting there and going, it works fine. It's just like, probably going to break eventually. There's then the retune speed, which is the time it takes from when your vocal hits the autotune to when the time that the time that the autotune takes to bring it into the
correct
whatever
note.
it assumes the correct pitch to be.
Yeah.
Or whatever you told it the correct pitch to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have some sort of tuning flexibility parameters.
Yeah. So
and that's how far you can get away from what's considered the correct note.
Yeah.
And your balance between your retune speed and your tuning flexibility, that's where you start to either get really T-pain.
Yes.
On a low tuning speed and no tuning flexibility.
Yeah.
Or start to build transparency in the tuning, which is going to be, you can't really say how much of each of these is going to be because all the different auto tunes work in different ways.
Yeah.
Different tuning is, it's a whole thing. It's a whole science really of like trying to get that right. And with any luck, each of these can be controlled via MIDI, either by like a patch that you can send program change to, or sending it CC values.
Yeah.
Which the UAD is really fucking annoying because you need to send. It's just so archaic. You need to send a CC value per parameter.
Yeah.
Rather than being able to just send one program change and be like, that's my preset for song 1, that's my preset for song 2.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's really annoying.
A lot of back and forth. And
Yeah.
like you say, what's it like? Speed is like 0 to 400.
Yeah, on the UAD autotune, Antaro's autotune real-time advanced, it's 0 to 400, which is ridiculous. Like, how does that split into your MIDI control, which is, your MIDI has 128 values.
Yeah.
But that autotune has 0 to 400. So, like, fucking figure that out.
Yeah.
And it also, like, the way the knob moves, it's not linear.
No.
It's like logarithmic. It's really weird.
Exactly. So there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of, like, maths.
And, like, the flex tune in UAD autotune is 0 to 100, but you can send it 0 to 127, which is 128 values. So that... This is the thing. There's a lot of inconsistencies in these things. None of them are like the perfect design.
No.
They're all kind of let you down a little bit.
Exactly.
But from an audio quality perspective, the UAD auto-tune is really good. And the
good.
latency is very low because it lives on the sound card rather than the computer. So I guess we'll program that.
Yeah. So like our root note on the UAD is key. And then if we look over to our UAD, you have to go into your settings of so your preferences in your autotune.
In the autotune plugin, and then you can change like the MIDI channel.
Yeah.
All of your CC values and like what CC value will control what. So what you've got it set up as retune speed is CC1, key is CC2, scale is CC3, flex tune is CC4. Humanize is CC5.
Yep. And we're
easy peasy. Those can be whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. You can change it. If you look at it, you've got a plus and minus to like go change the number and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So whatever is relevant to how you want it. And then if we go back to Ableton, like we have our clips here, and they all correlate to the same CC that was in our autotune.
So it's just like separate MIDI channels to control each parameter in the plugin.
Yeah.
Which we've found to just be kind of the quickest and easiest way on a session to get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
Because things like your keys and your scales, like in most modern music, it's going to be major minor.
Yeah.
And the keys, often you find with artists, they hover around keys that complement their writing.
Yeah.
Actually, what ends up happening is you get a very quick way, as you start putting that programming in, you get a very quick way of copying and pasting it across other tracks that are in similar keys to other tracks and whatever.
Exactly.
And then the only thing that becomes really fiddly is retune speed and flex tune.
Yeah, so those are the things you want to like tweak back and forth, which can be quite annoying, to be honest. Like, it's great if you can if you split the screen, especially when you're programming. I find you split the screen so you can see where the envelope is landing.
Yeah.
on the UAD.
Yeah.
because that's quite hard to do.
Well, it's because the values don't match up one to one, and it's hard to compute that immediately in your head. And I seem to remember with retune speed, you need to go sort of like 2 or 3 points through a CC value, or 2 or 3 points through an amount of a CC value to get to like an actual change through like retune speed, like 0 to 6 or something, and then after that all of a sudden it becomes these big chunks and these big steps.
Exactly. So yeah, we've put some auto-tune clips in here. We've got our B, we've got like our key, our root note is B, we've got our scale, which is a minor scale, and at the moment for our first example we're gonna like really T-paint it. So our speed's gonna be 0, so it's gonna tune 0 in 0 seconds. And we've got our flex at 0, so it has to be bang on the note. There's no sense plus or minus in it.
And so this is going to send MIDI CC values out of Ableton into UAD, and like the function for doing that, which I'm just going to do a very quick bit of housekeeping here and remove these all-ins. I'm going to set the MIDI channels to no input, because the last thing that we want is a pot on a keyboard controller changing our auto tune by accident, and everybody chasing their tails for hours trying to figure out why it went out of tune just that one time in that one track. Those are then going to use something called, well, in Mac OS anyway, there's something called the IAC driver, which is used for routing MIDI internally in Mac OS. So this is really good because we want to send MIDI from Ableton Live to console. And then into, obviously, the UAD plugin. So turning on the IAC driver is really quick and easy. If you haven't done it before, you go to your audio MIDI setup, go to your MIDI settings, and there's this red thing called IAC driver, which you basically just, when you double click the IAC driver in your MIDI studio, in audio MIDI setup, you can then turn that device online. Google how to turn on IEC driver and you'll have a nice little video with step-by-step instructions. But that's basically how, this is how you do it on shows, really. This is how we do it on every gig. Because you'll quite often have your tracks running, and then because you're running the UAD or auto-tune plugin on the Antares, UADR Antares plugin on the UAD hardware, you can have that software running. And it's not going to ruin your life with your Ableton. No. It's just a separate thing.
Should we?
So let's try some stuff and get that automation running. Maybe let's have a quick look at that UAD plugin for a second, and let's just change this to something so it's quite obvious what's going on.
So at the moment,
actually, our flex tune is so the retune speed currently is very, very high.
So it's basically, now that retune speed is on like 400, is it milliseconds? 400 milliseconds, and the flex is 100. So at the moment, it's technically bypassed. Because you can't send a bypass to like automate that. So you have to send the CZ value to the retune speed and the flex.
Which is basically like maximum flexibility, slowest time to get to the note. We'll change the key as well so we can see that all changing. Change it to D chromatic.
Perfect.
A useless key.
Yes.
For auto-tune.
So that's all done like that. So if we play it here, also let's unmute these because it won't send.
So unmute those MIDI channels to make sure they're actually sending that CC value.
So we're gonna hear the pickup untuned, and then it's gonna, as soon as it hits these clips, they're gonna tune. So if we go back, we can see it's changed to B and to B minor.
Great.
So at the moment, this is like, that is a pretty T-pain, and we've already hit our bypass section. So we've now made the retune speed really slow. So that's quite handy when you're like, we're going to play a part, and then we get to a section where we know that they're going to talk to the audience. Either
mid-track or it's normally quite good housekeeping to just put that at the end of a track.
So
at the end of the song, it's like, okay, cool, autotune turns itself off.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, the rest of the engineers, they don't need to be doing that manually.
Yeah,
don't need to be thinking about
that. Or it's quite nice that in a creative bit, like maybe someone doesn't, they want to use, I've worked with a few people that only want autotune as an instrument. So they're like, in the second verse, I want T-Pain vocals, and then that's when I want it. The rest I want it to be bypassed, because there's a moment where it's like that.
Yeah, it's so common in modern tunes to be like, that's the vibe of the vocal for the track.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got this. So let's go back to those two examples.
So this is our T-Pain vocal, and then it's going to come into a bypass section.
Yep. 1, 2. Pretty instant. It is instant.
And it's, this is like ridiculous auto-tune arrangement. But like as an example, like very unlikely that you'd do it like mid-verse in a song.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But like for the sake of example, so that it's like, okay, cool, like here's how that CC automation has worked. Like this is the MIDI changing this automatically as we move through the track.
Exactly. And
because that as live is basically routed out through, we've got like a little auto-tune server in the studio that that as live is routed into, which is then out to our record.
Yes.
So that's basically the signal flow that's happening, and that's how this is kind of working.
Yes,
We're not running the plugin in the session.
No.
It's running on its own.
Yes.
On the UAD device.
Exactly. They're two separate things.
Two separate things.
Yeah, but like, so that's a really like hard example, and then a really dry example.
Yeah.
We probably would want something a bit more subtle.
Yeah.
Something that like, if just to correct it a little bit, so it's a bit like more the records, because like there's probably been a lot of processing, and you probably did loads of takes when you did when you recorded your record. So just
something more transparent, basically.
Yes.
Something more like it's going to keep you in, but it's not going to force you in.
Yeah, exactly. So if we go from like our bypass into something a bit more transparent. So there, when it just switched.
Yeah, you can like still hear the vibrato a little bit in the way that she's singing.
Yeah. There's definitely like, you can definitely tell it's correcting. It's probably still a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
If you really wanted like subtlety and transparency. So like at the moment, our retune speed is at 28 and our flex is at 11. That's what this is. So
you could probably bring that retune speed to somewhere more in the region of 35, I reckon.
Yeah. So
which, I mean, what the fuck even is that in a CC value? The program's so much autotune, and I just still don't know any of this off the top of my head.
Yeah, exactly. No,
so esoteric.
And likewise. So we want to change this. We want to change this retune speed. So we're going to go into our clip, and we've set that as a CC1. So we're going to go into our envelopes and change that. At the moment, like here, it's at 9. So, and that's 28. So let's just go up. We've gone up to 13, and that's made it go to 41.
I mean, let's see what that sounds like.
Yeah, okay, cool, sweet. So now let's go back to it, and when I want it, don't tell me I can't have it. When I want it, don't tell me I can't have it. It definitely sounds more smoother.
Yeah.
It could probably depend. Like, this is when you'd go back and forth, and you need an artist to like slowly tweak it, and that's like the labor intensiveness of like doing this CC thing. We're going to have to go back, change it. It's not like we can like go to UAD, change it, save the preset, send a patch change and stuff like that. We're going to have to like fiddle with this. But once we've got it, we can get this. We can like paste it around, so we have it there, and we have our. Like we don't want this there. This is a silly example, but
you once you kind of got all of that programming of those values in the places that you want, because they're like, it is difficult, and you the only way to really get it right is to have the singer singing properly through that effect.
Yeah.
To really fine tune where you need it to be, but often stylistically, shows will have places that sit consistently with like, oh, this is our transparent version, this is our hard tune, this is our bypass, these are our keys. So kind of once you've done that once, it's mostly going to be copy and pasting those MIDI regions with those values around across the rest of the songs.
Yeah, exactly. You have like you just said, this is my T-Pain clips, this is my bypass clips, and this is like my general
general well, we're just going to make sure there's a bit of tuning going on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so rare that you're going to have totally like per song you're going to have very specific settings.
Yes.
Because, I mean, also partly from the time that it takes to do it. People normally are like, well, I mean, that sounds good. This works for my voice. This works for the way that I sing. We could just use this.
Yeah, and to be fair, if it does need to get more specific, but between track to track, and people go like, oh, I use this auto-tune, or a lot of people probably are using this UAD plugin. Like, they could just send you all their presets, and then you just like painfully copy the CC information from track to track to that. And then you get the exact same from the record. But you still need to consider, like, there's probably a lot of compression. You don't have the room in your in that vocal, so it's never really going to sound the same. But I guess as a basis, if people are really funny about, I miss my UAD preset, you could put it all on there if you wanted to.
Yeah, totally. And that's like such an important part of vocals is that microphone. And in the studio world, people take a lot of time choosing the right microphone for a vocalist to get the right vibe. And you need to do the same in live. You need to get the right capsule. Like, are you using a wired mic? Are you using an RF mic?
Yeah.
You know, after you've done all this tuning stuff, well, I say after, this tuning stuff is normally done after you've chosen the microphone, or at least it probably should be, so that you're getting the right results from your tuning, because like any effect, like it responds differently to different input.
Exactly.
So different singers will have autotune react differently to them. So then you're probably going to need to start looking at whether you're using a wired or a RF mic. Pop world, pretty much always going to be RF. But there may also be like an artistic decision in using a wired mic. There might be something about the way that you want the cable to be, or maybe there's a specific type of dynamic mic that works really, really well for your voice. Because like ultimately, you talk to any sound engineer, right?
Yeah.
And they'll say the key to mixing a vocal is for it to be a good vocal.
Yeah.
Like if the vocal is good, you don't need to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it sounds sick. I mean, we had who was it? Jennifer Hudson singing on an artist that we worked with years ago, and I remember her. This was like, you know, you have those eureka moments in music where you go like, "Oh right, I get it now."
Yeah.
Standing in a rehearsal room, and she just rocks up and just starts singing. It sounds exactly like the record.
Right. Yeah. Perfect.
That's it. It's just like she's just that good a singer.
Yeah.
And some people have that, and some people don't, and whatever. But like, you know, if you get the right voice with the right microphone, your front of house engineer won't need to do much. Your gig will sound great. You'll feel confident because you sound great in your ears. And like, if it doesn't sound great, it's because someone's cocked something up, which easy, fix it.
Yeah,
change
definitely.
It.
Yeah.
Don't just assume because someone said that this microphone is good that it's going to be good for you.
Yeah.
Different capsules do different things.
Yeah, exactly. Type of voice and stuff like that.
Exactly. And getting those things right is how you then get like the rest of the autotune stuff right. I guess the next thing with lead vocalists, I mean, certainly something that we talk about a lot with artists is they'll be like, oh, I want to make sure that we have this type of reverb. So we should find a way to like set up this type of reverb. So it's always coming from our source to go to front of house, which like that in a theory works.
Yeah.
But reverbs and delays, like those kinds of wet effects in live mixing are totally dependent on the room that you're in, the sound system that you've got, the bleed into that microphone, you know, all the other components. So it's kind of always better to just leave that to the front of house engineer.
Yeah.
They'll tune it to the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Part of their job that day is to tune everything to the room.
Yeah. And
be like, right, where do things poke out? Where do things not?
Yeah.
How do I fix that to make sure that this sounds really, really good today?
Exactly.
Because they'll be doing that with all the source.
Yeah.
You know? They'll be doing that with every microphone. They'll be doing it with the drum mics.
Yeah.
They'll be doing it with the guitar mics.
Exactly.
They'll be trying to figure that out. You know?
Yeah. Safe to like not put that.
Yeah. Unless it's like a creative thing.
Yeah.
Like if you've got like a big washy thing.
Yes, yeah. When you're kind of using them as risers or impacts, then it makes sense. But like, having it to the room, like, I think it makes sense to leave that to the front of house.
Just let that happen with them. And it's not about taking control away from you. It's just literally like, you may think, oh, I want this kind of long reverb on my vocal through the whole show, but that kind of long reverb in a very reverby room becomes an extra long reverb.
Yeah.
That's reverbed by reverb.
Yeah.
Avoid the reverbception, because it might actually be that you need to back that off in certain places because you're already getting it. And then there might be a difference between that and when you've got 5,000 bodies in that room.
Yeah.
Which soak up a lot of sound.
Yeah.
Like, just because, it's a bunch of meat bags in a room.
That's a lovely way to call punters.
Yeah, also, I'm not disrespecting any live music consumers. Please buy tickets still.
Yeah.
We need you to buy tickets.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, makes sense.
We should address miming.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's irrelevant in the producer side of things. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to lead vocalists,
and even a performer,
and it's quite controversial as well.
Yeah,
I think definitely for consumers, like there's this big like, miming is bad. Like, you're just sing the song. Yeah. But there's so many other, like, miming is super common.
Yeah.
But it's not always for the reasons that you think.
No.
Right?
No.
This is like, so as live is sometimes something that's used in mime situations.
Yes.
Like, it's really common in pop world to do it with choreo. Like, if someone's doing a backflip in the middle of a fucking chorus, chances are they're not singing at the same time, even if it sounds like it.
Yeah.
If you're spinning them around in the air, then like, they might be getting dizzy and they probably can't keep tune anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're going to need some tuning, and they're probably going to need an as live.
Yeah.
So that you have that consistent vocal happening all the way through. It's like, when you're like, what are you choosing in this part of the show? Are you choosing the vocal, or are you choosing the spectacle?
Yeah.
Because it's basically impossible to have both.
Yeah.
That's not going to work out.
Yeah. Unless was it Fergie, when they do those front flips and they're doing those
I haven't seen these.
I'll show you that later. It's so funny.
Mate, Fergie needs some house lives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's so good. But yeah, and it's not worth like jeopardizing like a whole tour because like someone wakes up and they're like, I've got laryngitis, or or not even to the point like, I guess if someone's completely lost their vocal, you would have to cancel the show. But it's just like those massive notes that I hit every day. I don't think I can do them today. I think I'm going to need a little bit of help.
They're fucking exhausting
on the choruses, or I'm going to have to sing an octave lower. Then like, stick a bit on track, or like, have them mime a bit, because if it means that they're like, the songs that are really hurting their voice, or the sections of the songs that are really hurting their voice, means that you won't have to cancel the tour. Yeah. Then like, I don't really see the shame of putting it on track as long as they're
100%.
And they can give a performance in a different way. Like, especially if we like when we're about to jump into the performer section, if they also play like keys or they also play guitar. It's just like, okay, I can't sing tonight. Put it on the track, and I'm gonna like do a guitar solo in some other bits instead.
There's so many solutions around it, and like, having to refund a venue's worth of tickets is, that could kill an artist. It could completely ruin them, and also just like the disappointment for their fan base. Yeah. Of like, you've been looking forward to this show for, however long.
Yeah.
And then someone's just like, so I'm cancelling tonight. Got a bit of scratchy throat, got a bit of a cold.
Yeah.
Like, normal people don't get to fucking take a day off work because they got a cold.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, you figure out a way to make it work. And you'll often find that audiences are super supportive of you if you're transparent about it, and you just say like, like, you can hear, like actually me today, like you can hear I've got a bit of a cold, but I'm still here and I'm still doing it. You guys still with me? Some of the best, certainly pop artists that I've worked with in the past, have taken complete ownership of not being totally on it that day.
Yeah.
And then saying like, I'm not like, I'm not 100% today, but we're still going to play the show together, and like, you guys sing with me and things like that. And like, so we've added more track. So that when the audience sing it, they really hear that top line as they would if the artist was singing it.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a hyper-connected world now, man. Like, all you need to do is like one shitty thing and fucking everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
You can't get away with it. And you need to minimize, you always need to be looking to minimize the impact of those decisions.
Yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, miming is almost more important now than it ever has been. And having like things in place to make sure that you can get away with that.
Yeah, exactly. If you're thinking of like touring is like a big part of a musician's income now, and if you can't tour because someone's made a stupid route for you to take, you've got to like,
which happens all the time.
Yeah,
like the agent don't give a fuck.
Maximize.
Yeah.
So you're like you're killing people, like driving overnight.
Yeah,
getting the plane like to a different continent.
Yeah.
Not stopping, like, you know, you're like you're draining the life out of people sometimes. So if it's just like, if I have to sing this like this chorus every time, this or this like scratchy vocal every time, I'm not gonna make it to the end of the year. So like sometimes you gotta pick your battles and just go like, maybe like this verse will keep on track or something like that, because like every day it's gonna chip away at you. Stuff like that.
More as lives today, please.
Yeah.
Not doing so well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
These are all like totally fine things. Like putting two shows together is all about making sure that it can work consistently and be good and be, you know, it's about every day being a good gig, not just having one good gig.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah.
And these are all the little techniques that we can use to get there. And hopefully you don't ever have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not always the case.
No, definitely.
Okay. That's lead vocals.
Yeah.
We've talked about miming. Don't worry, guys. We covered miming. It's all going to be fine now. You know exactly how to mime your show. You don't need to sing anything.
Yep.
Well, no, you should sing everything. In fact, even in this performer bit that we're about to talk about, I would argue, like, always try and sing on a show if you can.
Yeah.
So performer is, let's do a brief overview of it. So we would consider performer to be you're doing a bit of singing, but then you're also playing something.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier.
Yeah, so like the vocals might be not the total selling point or like USP. It's like, it's a bit of your production. It's a bit of like how you play your guitar. It's a bit like how write you tunes, but you also sing as well. How
you play your keys. You might be more into synthesizers. You might be into samplers. You might be into playing the drums or something. So this is all like quite fluid.
Yeah.
And like you said, like you could just be kind of singing along and adding BV lines.
Yeah.
You could be doing hyper affected vocal. I guess like Daft Punk is a good example of like then using that vocoder.
Yeah.
As your kind of performative aspect of some tracks.
Yeah. Something that's like, because the vocoder, like, it's a complement, you know, along with another instrument, you're playing keys to make your... Yeah.
And as much as it's in a Daft Punk track, it's probably quite an important part of that performance.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like life or death without it.
Where
in the lead vocal side of things, it's probably the artist's name on the poster and you're going there to see them sing.
Yeah.
So it is much more life or death.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
not life or death, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, definitely. And like that so that back to that vocoder thing, like that doesn't need to be band or group or that doesn't need to be the leader in a sense. It could be like a support artist.
Yeah.
You know, like doing the vocoder parts on that track, and then the lead vocalist is doing their lead parts.
Yeah.
But then there's a vocoder in the BVs of that, which you've taken off track, and you've got the keyboard player is doing that part.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, well, I'm just playing my keys and I can sing that part because I can't get it wrong, sort of thing. Other than the lyrics.
It's an important part of performances, and it's a very common part of performances.
Yeah.
To be doing more than just one thing with your vocal.
Yeah.
And having loads of other instruments going on, and you could be doing some effect stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's then taking everything that we're doing here. You know, if someone had produced the record as well as sung it, they might, at the end of this particular track, actually, we have it as quite a nice little way in the arrangement. You know, say Anna was singing this, and Anna was in fact our artist, then, you know, at the end of this chorus, she might then play this part on the 404, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then later in the track, you know, she'd sing all of this chorus part and then go into playing, and then maybe on this outro bit then be, you know, remixing this on the fly using the 404, because she has control over like how that part is arranged, and you know, you've got more options there, and that would kind of be like our performer version. Yeah,
exactly.
Which Anna actually is a producer, and she is quite a good producer. So
very good. Yeah,
that would probably be how Anna would do it on her show. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's like, those are all the three. Like the performer is a combination of the producer and the lead. So we spoke a lot about that. So it would be combining those two other ways we described vocalists.
Yeah.
In that, except like, that could be lead, that could be a support artist. But yeah, it's the combination of the two really. So like a wired mic might be more appropriate if someone is static.
You're not going to be running around as much.
Yeah. Or like maybe you are, like it all depends, but like if you're doing a mix of the two but you're playing piano and you're singing, do you really need to fork out on a wireless mic if you're going to be standing still the whole time? So like there's more things to consider like with that.
Yeah. I mean, as always, there's no answers from our podcast.
Yeah.
There is only a load of information, which hopefully makes it easier to figure out what it is you need to do. But yeah, that's vocals. You can do vocals now.
Yay! Vocals on your track.
Go do some cool shit. Make cool things. Do cool performances. Enjoy yourself. This should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be fun. So do have fun.
Yeah.
Podcast!
Yes.
Fucking A, boys.
Nice.
The Shofar podcast is brought to you by the music direction team at A Work in Progress, a live electronic music direction company. If you want to find out more about us, you can get us on YouTube at A Work in Progress -UK, on TikTok and Instagram, aworkinprogress.uk, or on our website, aworkinprogress.uk, where you can also find our blog that has the show notes, diagrams, patches, all the stuff that you're going to need to help understand the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again next month. Podcast outro done!